Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. These democratic rights are one of the core universal values of the United Nations, embedded in the UDHR and expanded further in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. In 2020, autocracies were found to violate international norms more frequently than any democracies. This tells us that democracy is not only a human right, but an essential model of governance that encourages other human rights and fundamental freedoms as well. Yet democracy across the globe is being threatened through a trend known as democratic backsliding. Democratic backsliding is a gradual decline in the quality of democracy. It can result in a state losing its democratic qualities, becoming an autocracy or an authoritarian regime. Backsliding has catastrophic consequences, but it can be very deceptive and hard to notice. Here are some telltale signs. Ruling governments first attack the media and civil society.
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you stay categorical?
They then polarize societies in disrespecting opponents and spreading false information.
You're right, Trump won! Trump won!
Leaders in power can use their power to make harmless-looking changes to law, but that add up in the long run to allow for more harmful reforms in the future. Finally, they undermine election legitimacy. By the time you realize that backsliding has happened, it's already too late. On top of that, the UDHR is not legally binding, and backsliding is usually so incremental that the international community has no justification to sanction or intervene in a country with sovereignty from backsliding until it's too late. International law has largely failed in preventing the autocratization of nations. The decline of the Weimar Republic into Nazi Germany and Hugo Chávez's Venezuelan dictatorship are some of history's most notorious examples of democratic backsliding. But while you may believe that democracy has since been spreading globally, the opposite has been happening. The world is still more democratic than it was in the 70s and 80s, but the level of democracy enjoyed by the average global citizen in 2020 is down to the levels around 1990. From 2010 to 2020, the percentage of the world's population living in an autocracy has increased from 48% to 68%. Also, backsliding is happening everywhere. Recently in 2020, the world's largest democracy, India, turned into an electoral autocracy with 1.37 billion people. Poland autocratized the most out of any country in 2021, reflecting a general trend in Central and Eastern Europe. But backsliding is also happening in the United States with new laws that restrict voting rights, which is highly troubling. The COVID-19 pandemic has also exacerbated backsliding even further. In response to the pandemic, 23 democracies registered moderate violations of international norms, while 55 autocracies engaged in major or moderate violations. Restrictions on media freedom were the most common type of violation, and almost one-third of nations have or had emergency measures without a time limit. The pandemic has also disrupted planned elections across the world, such as in Bolivia. Not all hope is lost. Democratization is still occurring in small countries, and 4 countries among the top 10 advancers turned into new democracies in the last 10 years. So what can you do to help reverse democratic backsliding? You can support bills and movements that strengthen voting rights by donating to local, nonpartisan nonprofits, such as those that support an independent justice system, a proven way to prevent democratic backsliding. Use social media to spread accurate information during elections and call out misinformation efforts when you see them. Finally, let everyone know how important democratic rights are. Reverse democratic backsliding by spreading the truth. Truth imports change. Protect human rights.